I got married. He is 10 years older than me. Except for not loving me, he excels in every way. The reason for our marriage is a secret that cannot be made public. I was pregnant with his younger brother's child, and his brother died in an expedition. He wanted me to keep the baby, and I wanted to find a father for my child. We each got what we needed, and it was a perfect match. During the wedding ceremony, I overheard someone commenting that I used to be the younger brother's devoted admirer, and now, for money, I've switched to an older one. I scoffed. What do they know? I was never after the younger brother. All my efforts were for the person beside me now. Even the night I got pregnant was because I mistook him for someone else. Cheng Yuanqi is 33 this year. He works out regularly. His skin is firm and he has well-defined muscles where they should be. Not overly exaggerated, under the dim, warm light he looked temptingly sexy. I swallowed hard, feeling my face grow warm. Sensing my bold and eager gaze, Cheng Yuanqi straightened up from the sofa and meticulously fastened the 3 undone buttons at the top of his shirt. The collar of his shirt wrapped around his slender neck, his sharp Adam's apple particularly prominent. Looking further up, there was his refined jawline, his thin lips pressed into a straight line, a high-nose bridge, and deep-set eyes. Unlike the earlier sensuality, now he exuded an even more captivating air of abstinence. "Shall he go to bed?" he said. He had been drinking, his voice low and hoarse, inviting imagination. I bit my lower lip, gathering courage to ask, "It's our wedding night. Won't you sleep with me?" Cheng Yuanqi frowned as if he had heard a profoundly difficult question, studying me seriously for a long, long time. So long that my legs nearly gave out from standing, he finally spoke softly. "Don't joke." 2 simple words, a clear refusal. With reddened eyes, I placed a hand on my still flat stomach and smiled brightly. "Cheng Yuanqi, you have to sleep with me." He tilted his head, quietly watching me, his features illuminated by the light. The fist at his side clenched tighter bit by bit, trembling faintly. After a while, he lowered his eyelids. "Fine." How strange. Hearing him agree so compliantly didn't make me happy at all. Instead, a deep sense of helplessness and sorrow welled up inside me. I had indeed found his weak spot and could easily force him to compromise. But so what? What about after the child is born? Lying side by side, Cheng Yuanqi turned his back to me, motionless, his breathing even deliberately shallow. "Cheng Yuanqi, we are husband and wife now." The moment I called his name, I clearly saw the muscles in his back tense up. He was afraid of me. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. When I spoke again, my voice already held a sob. "Good night." Realizing I had no further intentions, his back relaxed slightly. After a moment, he turned over, brushed aside the hair near my temple, and said, "Good night." Anyway, I had married the person I loved. On impulse, I leaned over and gently kissed his forehead, then quickly turned my back to him, forcing myself not to analyze his reaction. On our wedding night, only this kiss was an overstep between us. Beyond that, nothing else happened. The next day, we woke up with equally heavy, dark circles under our eyes. After breakfast, while scrolling through his phone without looking up, he asked me, "Any plans for today?" I originally wanted Cheng Yuanqi to take me on a honeymoon, but the doctor said I shouldn't travel far during the first 3 months of pregnancy, so I had to let it go. Nothing to do. Cheng Yuanqi glanced at me, took a bank card from his wallet, and handed it to me. "We'll link it for shared payments later. If you're bored, go shopping at the mall." He thought for a moment, then added, "Don't tire yourself out." I took the card, playing with it. "Cheng Yuanqi, I'm feeling the joy of being a kept woman." This sentence successfully dissipated a large part of his tension. Perhaps he felt that my coveting his money was much more relaxing for him than coveting him as a person. "Cheng Yuanqi, do you have someone you like?" I couldn't help asking. In my impression, he had never been in a relationship, not even had someone he was ambiguous with. He simply didn't seem like a normal man. He put down his phone, pinching the bridge of his nose wearily. "You and the child are the people I care about." If he hadn't smiled so bitterly, I might have believed him. My gaze drifted into the distance and I didn't speak again. Half an hour later, Cheng Yuanqi left for the company. Reaching the door, he turned back, reaching out to lightly touch my stomach. Take good care of yourself and the child. His younger brother's only bloodline left in this world had become the shackle binding his older brother for life. Suddenly I felt a pang of heartache for Cheng Yuanqi. Gathering my emotions, I smiled and bid him farewell. Take good care of yourself too. The moment the door closed, all my poise vanished. My back no longer straight, my stomach no longer pulled in. I sprawled awkwardly on the sofa, letting out groans of distress. Suddenly my phone rang, the screen showing the name, Li Yufeng. With immense sorrow, I tapped to answer, then spoke first. Dog, why did you go off the grid? Why didn't you come to my wedding? Why didn't you give me a wedding gift money? 3 questions in a row, each layered with more emotion, the last one even cracking. I was a completely different person from the one in front of Cheng Yuanqi. There was silence on the other end for a while, before a hoarse, low voice came through. I'm heartbroken. Come comfort me. You didn't go meet another online crush, did you? I asked, surprised. Damn, this time it's really too much. He was actually a guy taller and burlier than me. From now on, I'll never believe any Angelas calling me Gigi online. There's simply no love in esports. I'm just a poor soul longing for love but never getting it. Always losing teamfights too. What right do you have to yell at me? Li Yufeng had been smart since childhood, various online romances, various deceptions. Starting from age 11, he bought who knows how many VIP memberships, game skins, cards for how many people. Every time he encountered a goddess online, he'd motivate himself like this. As long as I lick fast enough, other simps won't get a chance. Arranging to meet Li Yufeng for lunch at noon. When we met, we roughhoused and joked for a good while before settling down to catch up. So, how does it feel to be his wife? He sat across from me, wearing his perennial white t-shirt and black pants. A somewhat roguish smile on his face. His overall aura somewhere between a boy and a man. I shrugged. Keeping up appearances is exhausting. I still haven't figured out what he likes. I've even started studying that Jiazian voice. He leaned forward, curious. What's Jiazian? I widened my eyes slightly, clasped my hands at my chest, took a breath, and said in a deliberately sweet, high-pitched voice. Jeej. You're so good at the game. Holy shit, Angela, he said, a look of sudden realization dawning on his face. I rolled my eyes. Idiot. Why do you have to pretend to be like that? Why not just be yourself? He took a sip of water, puzzled. I let out a long sigh. I am myself in front of you, but look what we've become, buddies. I want to be Cheng Yuanqi's wife, not his bro. He pouted. This arrangement of yours seems even less reliable than my online flings. What followed was our familiar banter, until we ran out of verbal ammunition, and I resorted to physical force. Amidst the horseplay, my laughter grew even more unrestrained, and all my worries were momentarily forgotten. Suddenly, a magnetic, clear voice sounded behind me. Zhao He, why are you crying? Crying? I was just laughing too hard. Before I could figure out how to face Cheng Yuanqi, Li Yufeng stood up, looking at him with a stiff smile. When are you planning to divorce Jiu He? Buddy, just because your own online romance failed, doesn't mean you should come wreck my fragile marriage, right? I quickly stepped next to Cheng Yuanqi, whispering, he just got his heart broken. He's jealous right now. Cheng Yuanqi gave Li Yufeng a thoughtful look, smiled and said, well, I'll go meet my client then. With that, he left without even a polite word to Li Yufeng. Wasn't that a bit improper? Li Yufeng plopped back down onto his chair, his expression dark. I was just about to smooth things over when he suddenly stood up angrily. Not eating. I'm full of anger. I met his gaze with a bewildered look. He was the one who started with the rudeness. Why was he so worked up? That didn't make sense. A few seconds later, he snorted and strode away. Left alone, I felt even more baffled. It wasn't me who deceived his feelings online. Why was he taking it out on me? That evening, Cheng Yuanqi didn't come back. I waited and eventually fell asleep. I don't know how much later it was when I faintly heard the door open and someone walk in my direction. I wanted to open my eyes, but I felt too tired, so I simply kept them shut, lying motionless. The edge of the bed dipped. A faint scent of tobacco wafted over me. And the next second, a slightly cool hand stroked my cheek gently. I didn't know what this gesture meant, but my heart tightened into a nervous knot. All drowsiness vanished. After a long while, he withdrew his hand and let out a sigh so faint it was almost inaudible. I was burning with curiosity, waiting for things to develop further, but nothing else happened. He left. He didn't return to the room all night, leaving me alone, tossing and turning, pondering left and right. The next morning, I appeared in the living room with dark circles under my eyes. He was already up, sitting on the sofa in a greyish hemp-coloured silk pyjama set, drinking coffee, elegant and dignified. Meanwhile, I was dishevelled, hair a mess, looking utterly listless. Knowing I hardly fit into this picture, I turned to leave, but he suddenly called out to me, "Zhao He, in the future, if you have worries, you can talk to me. With my experience, I can probably help you more than that kid can." His voice had little inflection, more like the gentle persuasion of an elder. I slowly raised my face to look at him and smiled. "I'll tell you, but will you tell me?" He slightly curved the corners of his lips, his profile glowing in the morning light. "Yes." Then he handed me his phone. "Don't you young girls like checking up on things? You can look through my phone anytime." What was going on? Sensing my shock, Chen Yuanqi stood up and walked toward me. "If we can develop feelings, wouldn't that be a very happy thing for the child too?" "So it was for the child's sake. You don't want to divorce me?" I asked. Before getting married, we had agreed to give the child a proper status first, then consider divorce. He would be a single father, I a divorced mother. Actually, you could consider the practical factors more. There are many benefits to us not divorcing, he replied, truly worthy of being 10 years my senior. The way he calculated pros and cons was so frank and natural. "And what if we can't develop feelings?" I asked with a smile. He frowned slightly. "Then we divorce." It was all too sudden. I couldn't sort out my feelings right away. I ran to the bathroom, sat on the toilet for a long time before finally organizing my thoughts. Chen Yuanqi wanted to cultivate feelings with me. For me, this wasn't a bad thing. I had no reason to refuse. After all, when I married him, I secretly harbored such a hope. The only thing that repelled me was how openly he revealed his motive for long-term benefits. He decided to try making it work with me. "You know, we young girls like checking up on things. But do you not know we also like talking about feelings? Can't even manage sweet talk. What kind of older man is that?" Coming out of the bathroom, Chen Yuanqi was sitting in front of his computer replying to emails. His long lashes were lowered, his jaw tight, expression focused. The fingers typing on the keyboard were slender, fair, and exquisite like porcelain. I couldn't help but swallow hard. A serious man is truly good-looking. Husband. Perhaps my adrenaline was pumping too hard. I actually unconsciously used that Jiezian voice and blurted out what was on my mind. "I'm doomed." Chen Yuanqi paused his typing, his brows slowly knitting into a character for river shape. Then he slowly looked up at me, slowly speaking. "Yes?" My face flushed, but I forced myself to sound justified. "Aren't we supposed to cultivate feelings? Why are you still so distant?" Complex emotions swirled in his eyes. "Wait until I've been to Yuan Ru's grave to say something first, then we can begin." Hearing that name, my breath hitched. Cheng Yuan Ru, my child's father. Cheng Yuanqi's younger brother. A person who had passed away but would never be forgotten by us. After Cheng Yuanqi left, I went back to sleep. When I woke up again, it was already noon. There were over a dozen missed calls on my phone, one from Cheng Yuanqi, the rest all from Li Yufan. Without a moment's hesitation, I called Cheng Yuanqi. He declined the call and quickly sent a text message. 3 words, "in a meeting." I was just about to call Li Yufan back when his call came in, right at that moment. "Don't you think you're being a bit of a jerk?" As soon as the call connected, his sarcastic voice came through. While stretching, I replied, "It's mealtime. Let me treat you to a meal." "A meal? No need. I'm already full of anger." "Why are you angry all the time?" There was silence on the other end for a good while before his tone suddenly softened. "Maybe I'm just not used to you being married." I was slightly taken aback. The next instant, he reverted to his usual nonchalant tone. "When one prospers, One must not forget old friends. Hurry up and use your man's money to treat me to a feast. I'm at your doorstep. Without washing my hair or putting on makeup, I went out wearing just my oversized shorts. Standing next to Lee Yufan, this outfit was enough. We've even studied the top, middle, and base notes of each other's farts before. Being vaguely human is sufficient. There's really no need to fuss over image. Getting into the passenger seat, Lee Yufan was clearly already accustomed. He didn't even give me a second look, just started driving. It wasn't until we reached the entrance of the Western restaurant, and the hostess blocked my way with a troubled expression, that he realized something was wrong. Then he looked at the sign next to us that read, "Improper attire, no entry," looked at me, and burst out laughing. I had just figured out what was wrong too. I glared at him fiercely, and was about to leave when someone called out to me. Following the voice, I saw an alluring woman in a cheongsam. She stood on the glass staircase, looking down at me from above, smiling charmingly. "I thought I was mistaken, but it really is you," she said, swaying gracefully down the stairs and stopping in front of me. "I'm a friend of President Cheng. We met at the wedding." The way she said it made it sound like she had met me at her and Cheng Yuanqi's. Weird. But her beauty was too aggressive. In front of her, I felt like a rickshaw puller from the Republican era. "Is that so?" "What a coincidence," I replied, forcing myself. "President Cheng is upstairs too. Let me take you up," she said warmly. "Oh, thank you so much for personally delivering me a grand dose of social death." I sent Lee Yufan a pleading look, but he ignored it completely, too busy striking a pose nearby, his face practically shouting, "Look at me. Beautiful. Look at me. Damn." Well, I was racking my brains for an excuse when a male voice abruptly cut me off. "Then we'll trouble you, beautiful. Lee Yufan, I wish you a lifetime of being single. May every one of your online romances be with men." I turned back with a vicious glare, grinning fiercely at Lee Yufan. "Don't you know I can't go up dressed like this?" The hostess beside us glanced at the Cheongsam beauty and smiled ingratiatingly. "Miss Chow is a shareholder here. Since you're her friend, you're naturally a VIP guest of our restaurant. Those rules don't apply." "Oh, really?" The Cheongsam beauty made a gesture of invitation. "Let's go. No need to stand on ceremony." Lee Yufan, that clueless idiot, trotted upstairs cheerfully, leaving me no retreat whatsoever. I had no choice but to steel myself and follow behind. The moment the private room door was pushed open, I stopped breathing, my toes instinctively clenching tightly inside my SpongeBob flip-flops. 5 impeccably dressed, radiant men inside all looked at me in unison, their probing gazes speaking volumes. The Cheongsam beauty smiled sweetly and charmingly. "This is President Cheng's wife. I happened to run into her, so I invited her over." I was suffering in silence. Invited. This was abduction. "Hello everyone. I'm a good friend of President Cheng's wife." Lee Yufan, on the other hand, was perfectly at ease, raising an eyebrow with a roguish, unrestrained smile. Cheng Yuanqi sat at the head of the table, his gaze lingering between Lee Yufan and me, seemingly deep in thought. I swallowed hard, a wave of guilt washing over me. "I'm sorry for embarrassing you." The Cheongsam beauty gestured for me to take a seat, but I couldn't move my feet. Cheng Yuanqi stood up, walked over, and naturally took my hand, leading me to an empty seat. "There with it. It'll be over soon," he whispered close to my ear, his voice low. "Huh? What kind of dangerous talk is that?" I couldn't help but feel my face flush. "President Cheng is so good to Ms. Gu," the Cheongsam beauty remarked meaningfully, a smile playing on her lips. Lee Yufan glanced at me, seemed to want to say something but held back, looking somewhat displeased again. Cheng Yuanqi returned to the head seat, skillfully steering the conversation back to work with a few words, leading the discussion with steadiness and composure. With the focus off me, the pressure I felt lessened considerably. Memories suddenly returned to my university days. Cheng Yuanqi had been invited back to our alma mater to give a speech. As a freshman, I sat in the audience listening to him speak eloquently, captivated the entire time, unable to look away. After finishing his speech, he asked if anyone had questions. I immediately raised both hands. "Senior, can you extend the time?" The classmates erupted in laughter, but many also voiced agreement. Chen Yuanqi's gaze passed over the crowd and landed on me. He also laughed. Classmate, that would require an extra fee. Time had been exceptionally kind to him. He looked the same now as he did 5 years ago. Time had only deepened his aura and enriched his soul. I pulled myself back from my thoughts and stole a glance at Chen Yuanqi. My heart ached with bitterness. The distance between him and me hadn't shortened with time. Instead, it had grown wider. If not for this child, I might never have caught up with him in my lifetime, let alone marry him. The more I ate, the more tasteless the food became. I really couldn't sit still anymore. Using the restroom as an excuse, I slipped out for some air, not expecting the Changshan beauty to follow me out. At the sink, she washed her hands while giving me a sharp, scrutinizing look in the mirror. What kind of woman like you is worthy of Yuanqi? She flicked the water off her hands, some droplets landing on my face. My fists clenched. She turned around, looked me up and down from head to toe, and curled her lip. Don't you have any self-awareness? I took a deep breath, straightened my back, and met her gaze. Of course I do. So I'm not at all surprised you're jealous of me. A flicker of displeasure passed through her eyes, but was quickly masked by a proud, confident smile. You could never be my match. I'm officially telling you now. I'm going to take Chen Yuanqi from you. For a moment, my entire worldview felt overturned. From the first moment I saw her, I knew she was hostile toward me. But since when could someone who intrudes on another's relationship act so high and mighty, so self-righteous? I let out a scornful laugh. I'd never seen a mistress of your variety before. With that, I strode out. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to resist hitting her with my flip-flop. She caught up, still smiling stunningly. What's wrong with pursuing true love? I dare to love and hate. Which is better than you being a sticky plaster? Damn. I stopped, clenched my fists, then forced myself to relax them. She, however, seemed to think she had already won against me and became even more smug. I touched my stomach, my face darkening. I'm a pregnant woman right now. I advise you to stay away from me. I'm afraid I might stage an accident. I can play the green tea or white lotus victim quite well. Don't provoke me. She froze completely. He touched you? Huh? What's so shocking about that? She pressed again. He really touched you. She seemed to have some serious issues. I moved to go around her, but she stubbornly grabbed my arm. Just as I was about to lose my temper, Li Yufan suddenly appeared. He pushed her aside, shielded me behind him, and said coldly, "Whatever designs you have on Chen Yuanqi are your business, but you are not allowed to hurt her." The Changshan beauty seemed triggered, instantly switching personas, shrieking at me. "You bitch! You're lying to me, aren't you?" Li Yufan yelled at me too. "Jiu, what are you waiting for? Hit her!" Just then, a server walked by carrying a bottle of red wine. I swiftly grabbed it and poured it over the Changshan beauty's head. Put the bill on Chen Yuanqi's tab. The server and the Changshan beauty stood frozen for a good while before both let out short, sharp screams. Li Yufan and I exchanged a glance and made a coordinated retreat. As I reached the entrance, a message popped up on my phone. "Are you okay?" I ignored it. A moment later, another message came. "Wait for me in the parking lot. Don't leave." Was he coming to scold me now? Thinking about Chen Yuanqi, my steps unconsciously slowed down. Li Yufan naturally grabbed my wrist, urging, "What are you thinking? Waiting for them to catch up?" Following his pace, I replied, "Chen Yuanqi told me to wait for him." Li Yufan walked even faster, practically breaking into a run. "Screw him. He let someone bully you like that. Divorce him as soon as possible. What does someone else bullying me have to do with him?" "He didn't bully me," I argued heatedly. Li Yufan suddenly stopped, turned around. I wasn't prepared and crashed right into his chest. He placed his hands on my shoulders, his eyes deep and intense. "Get a divorce after having the child. That's what you told me back then. Don't lie to me." His tone was too serious. Suddenly, I couldn't meet his gaze. I tried to break free from his hold, but he stubbornly refused to let go, seeming determined to get a definite answer from me. Suddenly, a series of hurried footsteps sounded behind us. Immediately after, a fist swung past my eyes. landing heavily on the side of Li Yufan's face. I clearly heard the dull thud of impact. Li Yufan grunted in pain, released me, staggered back, traces of blood appearing at the corner of his mouth. Stunned, I was just about to go help him when Cheng Yuanqi grabbed my hand first. He stood tall beside me, his chin slightly raised, brows lightly furrowed. "I won't divorce my Zhao He." A few words spoken gently yet firmly. My brain short-circuited. For a moment, I forgot my anger. He leaned back slightly, bent his head close to my ear, and whispered softly, "Unless you don't want me." I was even more confused now, my mouth slightly agape, speechless. Li Yufan got up, wiped the corner of his mouth nonchalantly, then forced a self-deprecating smile. "I've wanted to beat you up for a long time, old man." With that, he swung his fist toward Cheng Yuanqi. Cheng Yuanqi released me, sidestepped the attack. "Pick another time and place, I'll oblige." Li Yufan's brows tightened. As he was about to attack again, I quickly stepped between them, shielding Cheng Yuanqi. "Li Yufan, you should go first. I apologize on his behalf. I'm not leaving." "What if he bullies you?" Li Yufan lowered his fist, leaned heavily against the wall, head hung low, his tone like that of a sulking child. "Who wants you to apologize for him?" "Fine. You don't leave, then he and I will." I was too familiar with Li Yufan. In front of him, my emotions were more direct, and I didn't hold back much. With that, I took Cheng Yuanqi's hand and walked out without looking back. In the parking lot, Cheng Yuanqi had regained his composure and rationality. Apart from his hair being slightly disheveled, there was almost no trace of his earlier impulsiveness. I let go of his hand, took a deep breath. "Why did you hit him?" "Li Yufan is my friend. He didn't do anything wrong. If it's because of that woman, you can direct it at me. Let's talk at home." His voice was cool, devoid of emotion. I must say, being older does make one more composed. Defeated, I reined in my aggressive stance and got into the passenger seat. The whole way, I stared at his manga hands on the steering wheel, imagining countless possibilities. But I never expected him to take me to a food market to buy groceries. Eat more fish. The child will be smarter. Dressed in a suit, he squatted incongruously in front of a fish stall, looking up at me. The light overhead fell into his pupils, reflecting flickers of tenderness. For a moment I felt dazed, unable to discern his true thoughts. Was he angry or not? I embarrassed him, yet he's going to cook for me? For the child's sake, could he really endure to this extent? The more I thought, the less I understood. The less I understood, the more dejected I became. I didn't even want to speak, silently following him, watching him pick and choose at various stalls. "Hitting someone is wrong. I apologize." He said it so suddenly. It startled me. "Cheng Yuanqi, he is a very important friend of mine. You should apologize to him in person. Give him the respect he deserves." I replied seriously. He responded only after a moment's silence. Shifting light and shadow played on his profile, blurring his expression. Once again, I felt he was far away from me. Back home, I sat on the sofa first, continuing to sulk. He was carrying groceries in both hands. He walked over, turning his right hip toward me. "My phone has a message." He was ordering me around now. Reluctantly, I reached into his pants pocket, pulled out his phone, and was just about to hand it to him when he walked away. "No password." "Help me reply." I was a bit baffled. Opening the phone, I saw it was a message from Zhao Qing. The string in my mind instantly tightened. Xiao Qing, that Cheongsum beauty. I opened the chat page, nervously scrolling through their conversation history. Half an hour ago, Zhao Qing had messaged, "Are you really leaving just like that? This project still needs discussing. I'm waiting for you at the entrance." "Did you really leave?" "President Cheng, I think you should apologize on behalf of your wife." "I'm not a petty person either. If you take me out for a meal alone, we can let this go." Among all these messages, Cheng Yuanqi had only replied 10 minutes ago, probably when we were buying groceries, with 2 words. "Not happening. So many people saw your wife bully me. You at least need to let me save face, right? I know the character of my people. You better not spread rumors. I protect my own." That was Cheng Yuanqi's reply. A wave of comforting warmth instantly rose in my heart, spreading through my entire being and welling up in my eyes. He was defending me? Cheng Yuanqi hadn't read the messages after that. They were what I had just opened. Zhao Qing said, "You can to take advantage of my liking for you to treat me with such disregard. In your heart, am I just someone who spreads rumors? I'm so sad." Sad my foot. My fingertips trembled involuntarily. Pressing my lips together, I looked up toward the kitchen. Cheng Yuanqi was bent over, single-mindedly sorting vegetables, seemingly unconcerned about what I might do with his phone. Cheng Yuanqi. I stood up and walked quickly toward him. I didn't bully her. I know. He stopped, turned to look at me. And I didn't go there on purpose to embarrass you, I said softly. He let out a light laugh. It wasn't embarrassing. Just that bottle of wine was a bit expensive. Wine? Oh, the wine I poured over Zhao Qing. I gasped, looking at him nervously. How expensive? Did I pour a down payment on a house over her head? That kind of place clearly had high prices. I was impulsive. Too impulsive. Cheng Yuanqi pressed his lips together, his eyes full of amusement. After a moment, he couldn't hold it in anymore, grinning brightly. His cool, deep features became vivid and radiant. The last time I saw him laugh so happily was a year ago, when Cheng Yuanru and I celebrated his birthday. I relaxed and smiled along with him. Smiling and smiling, I suddenly felt something wasn't right. It seemed like a warm fluid was flowing out from below. Ah, Cheng Yuanqi, take me to the hospital quick. The baby's going to be lost. I stiffened my legs, not daring to move, cold sweat breaking out on my back. Cheng Yuanqi dropped everything, quickly ran to the living room to grab a bag, then came back, scooped me up in his arms and rushed outside. Holding onto his neck, my mind went blank, not daring to imagine anything. Compared to my confusion, Cheng Yuanqi was much more composed. He was logical, efficient, and quickly completed all the tests the doctor ordered. While waiting for the results, I felt panicky and wanted to hold his hand for some comfort. The moment my fingertips touched the back of his hand, he swiftly pulled away. The atmosphere froze for an instant. Embarrassed, I withdrew my hand, both angry and hurt. What was this? Didn't he say he wanted to cultivate feelings with me? The moment something happens to the child, he won't even let me touch him. Heartless old man. After all the test results were in, we returned to the examination room, waiting for the doctor's verdict. This time, Cheng Yuanqi's composure was gone. As the doctor flipped through the reports one by one, he kept blinking, swallowing, as if wishing he could speed up the process himself. Finally, he couldn't hold back and urged, "Doctor, is the baby okay?" The doctor looked at me, then at Cheng Yuanqi. No intercourse during pregnancy, right? He won't even let me hold his hand, let alone have intercourse. I lowered my head, waiting for Cheng Yuanqi to answer. No, he answered succinctly. The doctor nodded and continued reading the reports. Threatened miscarriage. Go home and rest. Unless absolutely necessary, it's best not to get out of bed. After listening to the doctor's explanation of threatened miscarriage, Cheng Yuanqi didn't let me take a single step. He carried me straight out of the hospital. In the car, he reclined my seat, fastened my seatbelt, then leaned back in the driver's seat and closed his eyes, pretending to rest for quite a while. Shall we? Let's work together to bring this child into the world. Didn't the doctor say threatened miscarriage is nature's survival of the fittest? I think you should prepare yourself psychologically, I said, my tone not very good due to my lingering anger. He frowned, looking out the window, and said nothing. Angry or not, I remembered the doctor's orders. Once home, I obediently lay down in bed. Seeing this, the sternness in Cheng Yuanqi's expression softened slightly. He walked over and tucked me in. You've had a hard time. What hardship? He's the one taking care of everything. I sulked, ignoring him. He suddenly reached out and pinched the soft flesh of my cheek. Such a big temper, little kid. You used to be quite well behaved. I still ignored him. Reason told me that for someone with no particular feelings for me, his behavior was perfectly normal. But emotionally, I couldn't accept it as if nothing had happened. I'll go cook. He pinched my cheek again. You can be properly angry after you've eaten. Cheng Yuanqi's cooking skills were excellent. The dishes were aromatic and delicious. I ate quite contentedly, and my anger subsided a little. Cheng Yuanqi, I need to use the toilet. Cheng Yuanqi, I need to use the toilet. Cheng Yuanqi. The pregnancy pressed on my bladder. As he carried me to the bathroom over and over, my anger subsided a bit more. By evening, when he proactively climbed into my bed, my anger had completely vanished. With such a handsome sight before me, it was worth being magnanimous. But why was he so far away? I moved closer, he moved away. I moved closer, he moved away. I moved closer, he escaped from the bed. Looking at his panicked expression, my heart sank. After a long while, I met his gaze and laughed self-deprecatingly. Cheng Yuanqi, if you're fundamentally bothered by what happened between me and your brother, why force yourself to cultivate feelings with me? He shook his head and climbed back onto the bed. This time he was very close. With each breath, my nostrils were filled with his refreshing, pleasant scent. Tentatively, I reached out and wrapped my arms around his waist. His body stiffened, his breathing hitched for a moment. He didn't reciprocate, but he didn't push me away either. He must still feel disgusted by me, I thought dejectedly. Lost in our separate thoughts, we held each other for a long time, neither speaking first. The atmosphere was eerily quiet. Just as I was about to let go, Cheng Yuanqi's Adam's apple bobbed. He swallowed hard with difficulty, his voice hoarse. Xiao He, are we sleeping like this all night? So, he did find me repulsive. I quickly released him, my eyes reddening. He sighed, wrapped a long arm around me, pulling me into his embrace, his voice full of helplessness. If you want to hug, then hug. Why cry? I buried my face in his chest, greedily absorbing his warmth, thinking despairingly, each hug is one less. I shouldn't throw a tantrum. Unconsciously, I fell asleep in his arms. When I woke up again, it was already noon the next day. My neck had been pillowed on his arm all night, aching as if about to break. He had woken up earlier and was playing with his phone with his other hand, his expression calm as water. Only when I moved off his arm did he show a flicker of pain. His arm must have gone completely numb. Cheng Yuanqi, is this us tormenting each other? I asked, rubbing my neck. He looked at his immobile arm and suddenly smiled. I didn't understand what he was smiling about, nor could I guess his thoughts. Cheng Yuanqi was always like this, now close, now distant, now visible, now hidden. Sometimes far, sometimes near. It was as if he were shrouded in a light mist. An occasional gust of wind would reveal his true form clearly, but soon he would conceal himself again. Cheng Yuanqi switched to working from home, so I could see him all day long, eat his cooking and boss him around. Although staying in bed was boring, experiencing this kind of two-person world wasn't bad. On the weekend, not long after I woke up, I heard someone knocking at the door. Jiu. I know you're home. Don't hide inside and ignore me. That sarcastic tone could only belong to Li Yufan. Cheng Yuanqi stood up from his computer to answer the door, looking somewhat displeased. I quickly propped myself up and called out to his back. Cheng Yuanqi, you still owe Li Yufan an apology. Be a bit nicer. His steps faltered, but he didn't respond. Not long after, the sound of the door opening came from outside. It seemed Cheng Yuanqi was saying something quietly to Li Yufan. It was a bit too far. I couldn't hear clearly. I waited a while, but they still didn't come into the room to find me. I got anxious and shouted loudly, "Are you two having an affair or something?" After some rustling sounds, Li Yufan rushed into the room ahead of Cheng Yuanqi, looking at me with an expression that screamed, "You've been corrupted by capitalism. Are all those bags, jewelry, and big gold chains in the living room gifts from your man? What bags? What jewelry? What big gold chains? I've been lying in the bedroom being a useless lump. I don't know anything about that." Li Yufan clicked his tongue twice. "Jiu, don't you know what people outside are saying about you?" Cheng Yuanqi walked in, gave Li Yufan a sidelong glance and leisurely sat down on the beanbag chair by the window, as if waiting for Li Yufan to continue. The outsider's opinions about my marriage to Cheng Yuanqi were nothing more than thinking one of us is greedy for money, the other for looks. What good things could they say? Even my parents thought so, which is why they still don't accept Cheng Yuanqi as their son-in-law. "May I ask why you're here? Can you leave now?" I flashed a toothy grin. Compared to other people's opinions, I was more concerned about the stuff in the living room. Li Yufan plopped down next to me, grinning smugly. Your parents heard you had some health issues, so they're very worried. They specifically entrusted me to come take care of you and, by the way, check out your married life on their behalf. Very few people knew about my pregnancy. Besides Li Yufan, only my parents and Chen Yuanqi's parents knew. We were supposed to visit my parents a few days ago, but my health situation prevented it, so Chen Yuanqi called to explain. My parents' attitude was so cold that I almost cried. I didn't expect them to pull this move. It was completely unexpected. Spy? Traitor? Defector? I got so agitated I almost sat up in bed. Li Yufan swiftly pressed me back down, smiling as he enunciated each word. Envoy. Damn. Li Yufan had a particularly sweet mouth and thick skin. He managed his relationship with my parents even better than I, their biological daughter, did. Back then, my parents were practically chasing after him to adopt him as their godson. I did everything in my power to ruin it because I didn't want to call him brother. At the time, Li Yufan shamelessly asked me if I was afraid we couldn't be lovers if we became siblings. He even told me to broaden my horizons. Romance between siblings was more exciting. I also really wanted to come see if he treats you well. Li Yufan suddenly dropped his usual nonchalant act, becoming serious. I was a bit taken aback, forcing a dry laugh. What's this treats you well business? After I have the child, I couldn't bring myself to finish the sentence. Before getting married, I told Li Yufan I'd get a divorce after having the child. But now, it seemed not only I was wavering. He didn't seem to believe it either. Cheng? Big brother? Li Yufan tilted his head innocently, smiling at Chen Yuanqi. Do you welcome me? Chen Yuanqi crossed his legs, leaning back in the chair. Half his face was hidden in the shadow cast by the curtains, making his expression unclear. After a good while, he replied, Was the stuff I bought outside wrong? Li Yufan got excited instantly. He stood up, pointing outside, looking both amused and exasperated. You think it's not wrong? I don't know about others, but Hezi definitely wouldn't like those things. Too tacky, right? Is this you old guy's idea of romance? I think I like them. Chen Yuanqi slowly stood up, asking sincerely, Then how do you young boys do romance? Li Yufan placed his hands on his hips, rhythmically swaying side to side while singing, I want to invite you onto my wild motorcycle. I'm willing to drink, eat meat, and sing with you. No, he misunderstood me. I grabbed a pillow and threw it at Li Yufan. Get out. Don't corrupt my big man. Li Yufan caught the pillow, tilting his chin up challengingly. Xiao Ci. Hurry up and arrange a room for me. I've got plenty of time to teach you slowly. I felt like sighing to the heavens. This guy had actually wormed his way into my life. By 10 p.m., Li Yufan finally quieted down. Just so he could put in a good word for him in front of my mom, Chen Yuanqi actually endured all his unreasonable, childish demands. Although I couldn't see what they were doing most of the time, just hearing Li Yufan's goose-like laughter made my heart ache. Watching Chen Yuanqi's figure hunched over his computer, working hard, I sighed. I'll think of a way to kick him out tomorrow. You've had a hard time. Chen Yuanqi rubbed his temples, walked over to the bed, leaned over to look at me. His gaze deep. Li Yufan is right. What someone your age needs is a passionate, all-consuming love. I shook my head frantically, right my foot. Don't believe a single dog who only knows online dating. I thought too simply. It's not these material things you want. He straightened up, turning to look out the window. Zhao He, haven't you noticed? You seem happier, more relaxed in front of Li Yufan than you are with me. I stared blankly at his back, not knowing how to answer. With Li Yufan, I was completely certain that no matter what state I was in, he would never look down on me. But Chen Yuanqi was different. Because I liked him, I had too many reservations. I came up with dozens of reasons to get Li Yufan to leave, but he was impervious to both persuasion and threats, absolutely refusing to go. The house was filled with the noise of our bickering all day long, and Chen Yuanqi would just sit nearby each time, quietly watching us. Only after we finished would he slowly say, It's fine, let him stay here. It's quite lively. I thought that sentence was just lip service, a helpless compromise. It wasn't until Friday noon, when Li Yufan and I got into another argument over a piece of meat, That Cheng Yuanqi said, "Xiao He, I hope our child in the future is this lively and cheerful too." Only then did I realize he really didn't seem to dislike this kind of life. He seemed to vaguely enjoy the liveliness. Hearing this, Li Yufan got excited, springing to his feet. "I see you as a love rival, and you see me as a son." I burst out laughing. "To tell you the truth, I've long seen you as a son." Li Yufan's ear tips flushed pink. He glanced at me, his gaze complicated, and for the first time, didn't trade barbs with me. I was a beat slow in realizing what the problem was and felt even more like laughing. What love rival? I didn't believe he liked me. Would someone send a picture of their stinky socks accumulated over half a month to the person they liked? Would someone borrow a whole month's living expenses from the person they liked to fund a trip to meet an online crush? Would someone call the person they liked a useless chicken over a game win or loss? There were too many examples. I never felt he treated me like a girl. Li Yufan, you're really so desperate you're not picky anymore, daring to say such things. As soon as the words left my mouth, Cheng Yuanqi picked up a tissue, leaned over, and wiped the oil from the corner of my mouth. His long lashes were lowered, his expression focused. His straight, attractive nose was very close to me. His warm breath brushing against my face, sending tingles. The atmosphere in the room subtly changed. I clearly felt my heartbeat gradually going out of control, and my attention completely shifted away from Li Yufan. A moment later, he suddenly lifted his eyelids, staring intently into my eyes, and smiled lightly. "Why is your face red?" I was mesmerized by the gentle ripples swirling in his pupils. I swallowed hard, unable to utter a single word. Cheng Yuanqi straightened up, a hint of pleasure coloring the corners of his eyes and brows. He glanced surreptitiously at Li Yufan, then served me more food. "Xiao He, in a few days you'll be able to get out of bed. I'll take you home to spend some proper time with your parents." "My parents?" I asked reflexively. He nodded. "I'll perform well. Make your father and mother accept me." Having an outsider conveying messages in between doesn't have much effect. The meaning of the sentence was too obvious. It was clearly aimed at Li Yufan. I looked at Li Yufan but found him smiling, as if he understood, yet also as if he didn't. Smiling and smiling, I saw his eyes redden. Suddenly he stopped laughing, looking at me seriously. "Hezi, you rest well and recover. I have other plans, I'll head out first." "Li Yufan?" I forced a smile, wanting to say something in our usual teasing tone, but my voice caught the moment I opened my mouth. Right now, whatever I said seemed off. He waved his hand and walked out. At first, his steps were steady, but as he neared the door, he almost broke into a run. Cheng Yuanqi acted as if nothing had happened, serving more food into my bowl. I lost my appetite and pushed the bowl and chopsticks aside. "Clean up, please. I want to lie down." Because I couldn't get out of bed and Cheng Yuanqi insisted the family eat together. We'd been placing a small table on the bed and putting the food on it. Cheng Yuanqi cleaned up very efficiently, seeming quite familiar with housework and skilled at taking care of others. I couldn't help but muse. Those extra 10 years really aren't for nothing. A slight smile curled at the corner of Cheng Yuanqi's mouth, as if he'd thought of something pleasant. He went to the kitchen to wash dishes. I lay alone in bed, and soon, drowsiness washed over me. When I woke up again, it was already evening. The blackout curtains weren't drawn, and all the lights were off. The room was pitch black. I couldn't see anything. A wave of panic rose in me. I called Cheng Yuanqi's name several times, but there was no answer. Checking my phone for messages, I found out he had gone out. At 3 in the afternoon, he texted me saying he had something to attend to, and would try to return as soon as possible. Now, his "as soon as possible" had stretched to 7 hours later. Countless wild thoughts instantly flooded my mind. I sadly realized that between Cheng Yuanqi and me, there was no trust whatsoever. The slightest hint of trouble made me afraid. Could such a fragile relationship truly bear the weight of beautiful expectations? Thinking this, I quickly shook my head, steadying my emotions. Indeed, nighttime was the easiest time to get sentimental. I tapped Cheng Yuanqi's number and called. Not long after, the call connected. "Hey, when are you coming back?" "I'm hungry," I spoke first, unconsciously softening my tone. A soft, feminine laugh came from the other end of the phone. My heart sank abruptly. Hungry, huh? What to do? You and she can't make it back right now. Should I order you some takeout? It was Geo King's voice, charming yet laced with sarcasm. I was at a loss for several seconds before replying, "Oh, it's you. What trick have you pulled this time? So good at throwing yourself at men. Just make sure you don't stick to the pot when you're cremated later." "No manners," she retorted haughtily, then hung up. Looking at the darkened screen, I suddenly felt deeply defeated. Dating, marriage, pregnancy, I hadn't handled any of the important milestones in life well. Geo Kung was right. I wasn't worthy of Cheng Yuanqi. Wait. If a relationship makes a person negate themselves, it's better to negate the relationship first. After pondering in the darkness for a long time, I decided to have a proper talk with Cheng Yuanqi. His purpose in cultivating feelings with me was to let the child be born into a stable family and receive better companionship. But based on recent interactions and the various subtle signs of his distaste, I felt it was unlikely he would ever come to like me. If that was the case, then it was better to be decisive and leave some dignity for this marriage. I picked up my phone, thought for a moment, and dialed Li Yufan's number. At this hour, he was the only one I dared disturb without reservation. It rang only twice before he answered. A low, husky voice came through the phone. "What's up? Miss me?" My nose tingled, tears almost falling. "Li Yufan. Who's prettier, me or Geo Kung? What are you thinking?" His tone rose slightly. "Of course Geo Kung. Well, that was expected. I'm so hungry. I want the barbecue from downstairs at your place. Bring it to me quick," I said loudly, holding back the tears in my eyes. This kind of tone was common in our interactions, but he somehow picked up on something. After a moment's silence, he cautiously probed, "You're not crying, are you?" I instinctively denied it. "Of course not." All right. It's good you're being bullied. Being bullied makes you know when to turn back," he replied. I was about to deny it again when he changed tack. "Anyway, I've got your back. Your life won't go completely wrong." Tears streamed down uncontrollably. My voice grew hoarse. "Li Yufan, you're sick. Don't use your simp talk on me. I know exactly what kind of person you are." Li Yufan didn't speak for a long time. My heart tightened with each of his breaths. Just as I couldn't stand it and was about to hang up, he spoke. Whether the 16-year-old Li Yufan ever had feelings or not, the 24-year-old Li Yufan knows. My breath hitched. I quickly hung up the phone, as if that could make it seem like nothing had happened. Half an hour later, a knocking sound came from the door. I lay in bed for a long time, not daring to move. Finally, I picked up my phone and sent Li Yufan a message. "I'm not hungry anymore. You should go back first." At this moment, I didn't know how to face him, and I couldn't bear to lose this relationship. After much thought, I decided to avoid him first. After some time had passed and we both calmed down, we could have a proper talk. Maybe by then, he'd have a new crush anyway. He was immature, fickle. I still didn't quite believe he liked me. The knocking stopped. Soon, I received a reply on my phone. "Cheng Yuanqi isn't home. Where did he go at this hour? I didn't want to discuss this topic. Don't worry about it. Go back soon." I didn't get a reply for a long time after sending the message, and there was no more movement outside the door. I vaguely felt something was off. "Did you go back?" I couldn't help but send another message to Li Yufan. Still no reply. I tossed and turned in bed for over an hour. Finally, my phone rang. Picking it up, I saw it was from Li Yufan. I felt a slight disappointment. Clicking to answer, I was just about to speak when the other person's urgent voice cut me off. "Hello, this is Central Hospital. Your friend has been in a car accident. Please come immediately." I didn't care about anything else. I quickly got out of bed and rushed to the hospital. Passing by the door, seeing the takeout Li Yufan had left for me, my heart ached. If I had known this would happen, I shouldn't have asked him to bring me food. Panic and regret constantly assaulted my reason. My legs began to shake. Each step felt like walking on cotton. Leaving the residential area, I couldn't find a taxi for a long time, and the ride-hailing apps had no takers. At my wit's end, I called Cheng Yuanqi as a last resort. The ringtone was about to end when he finally answered. This time, it was Cheng Yuanqi's voice. He was breathing heavily, as if he'd just undergone some strenuous activity. Xiao He, I'm on my way back now, don't worry. A buzzing sound echoed in my head. The taut strings snapped completely. Grievance turned into a stronger surge of anger. I sneered. It's fine. I'm not worried. Cheng Yuanqi, take your time. Don't ruin Jiao King's fun. Xiao He. After a few seconds of silence, he called my name softly, carrying a hint of hesitation. I didn't want to speculate about his thoughts anymore, and quickly hung up. With a 10-year gap, how could I possibly understand his thoughts so easily? On the contrary, he had me completely figured out. He was the one leading everything, including the marriage, even later cultivating feelings. It was all his idea first. Finally, I got a taxi. When I arrived at the hospital, Li Yufan was still unconscious, with obvious scratches on his face. My emotions completely crumbled. I collapsed by his hospital bed, crying my heart out. A young girl stood nearby, looking at me hesitantly, wanting to come help but afraid. Just as I was about to take a breath for another loud wail, the girl finally spoke. He's just drunk. The doctor checked. He's fine. Huh. I sniffled. Drunk? Not knocked unconscious. So he was just wasting my emotions. He kept calling your name when it happened. So the doctor contacted you, the girl said, helping me up and glancing at my stomach. Are you his wife? I gritted my teeth and smiled. I'm his stepmother, just recently married his dad. The girl was the driver who caused the accident. She told me she hit Li Yufan outside a bar. She also said that on the way to the hospital, Li Yufan kept calling my name, saying he liked me, and seemed very sad. After hearing the doctor personally confirm that Li Yufan was just drunk and sleeping, I decisively chose to go home. What was this all about? On the way here, I had already imagined how I'd push a wheelchair to take Li Yufan to a comic convention. And this is it? Not that I wanted him to be actually hurt. It's just that this guy was so unreliable, so infuriating. Getting out of the taxi at the residential area entrance, I saw Cheng Yuanqi. He had also just gotten out of a taxi. His hair was disheveled. A few strands stuck to his temples. He wore a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up high, revealing the smooth lines of his forearms. His black leather shoes were covered in mud splatters. Compared to his usual composure and propriety, this was the most disheveled I had ever seen Cheng Yuanqi. We looked at each other for a good while. He walked up with a dark expression, wanting to take my hand. I quickly dodged. Let's talk at home. He extended a long arm, forcefully pulling me into his embrace, giving me no chance to struggle. Pressed against his chest, it took me a second to react. Someone like Cheng Yuanqi wouldn't want to lose face in public. All right, let go. I'll go back with you. I suppressed my emotions, trying to appear calm. He lowered his eyelids, looked at me, didn't respond, didn't let go, just held me as we walked into the residential area. How strange. Usually he was quite disdainful of me. Why was he being affectionate today? Once home, as soon as the door closed, he released me. With a cold face, he took a deep breath. After a while, he asked, "Where did you go?" "To the hospital," I retorted stiffly, deliberately trying to make him nervous. Sure enough, he panicked. "What's wrong?" "Feeling unwell." "What about the baby?" "Nothing much. Just had an abortion." My expression was calm, but inside I felt an almost vengeful sense of satisfaction. Cheng Yuanqi's breathing hitched for a moment. Anger flickered in his eyes, but was quickly suppressed. He lowered his gaze, his eyes fixed on my stomach. "Xiao He, don't say such angry words. The baby can hear." "Cheng Yuanqi, what makes you think I'm just saying angry words?" "I'm telling you, from the very beginning, I never wanted to keep it," I said resentfully. "When I first found out I was pregnant, I wanted to find Cheng Yuanru to accompany me to the hospital to terminate the pregnancy. But I never expected him to have an accident that day, and I certainly didn't expect all the information to be seen by Cheng Yuanqi. Due to a moment's hesitation, I chose to follow Cheng Yuanqi's suggestion to have the child and marry him. Now it seemed, it was a huge mistake. What was I really waiting for? What was I hoping for? Relying on the blood ties with the child to continue entangling with him, tormenting each other. But should I really waste my life on him alone? Cheng Yuanqi reached out and gripped my shoulders. He stared intently at me, as if trying to see through me. I stubbornly met his gaze, refusing to back down. The atmosphere became oppressive and heavy. Cheng Yuanqi, let's get a divorce. In the end, I was the one who broke the silence. He seemed not to understand, his long lashes fluttering slightly. Then he said calmly, "You must be hungry. I'll make you some noodles." "Let's get a divorce," I repeated, enunciating each word clearly as I pulled away from his grip. "We'll talk after eating. Be good." Cheng Yuanqi walked past me toward the kitchen. His voice was low and hoarse, echoing in the empty room with an inexplicable sadness. Watching his retreating back, I once again felt he was shrouded in thick fog, now close, now distant, now visible, now hidden. No need. Where did he go? What did he do with Jiakeng? I really wanted him to explain. But why didn't he mention it? I didn't want to wait anymore, nor did I want to suffer through endless speculation. Turning to leave, just as I was about to open the door, a figure swiftly darted over. Cheng Yuanqi pressed his hand against mine on the door handle, pinning me between the door and his body. His breathing was rapid, but his tone deliberately softened. "There are many things I want to tell you slowly. I'm afraid of scaring you." The train of thought I just organized was derailed again by his words. A sense of exhaustion, both mental and physical, washed over me. I closed my eyes and pried his fingers off one by one. "You're too slow. I don't want to hear it anymore." It was really tiring chasing someone, managing a relationship, trying to distinguish right from wrong. Above me, Cheng Yuanqi's breathing grew heavier. The next moment, he pulled me forcefully into his embrace. The hand pressed against my back was scorching hot, as if harboring a spark that could start a prairie fire. "Xiao He, today's me is a bit disheveled." Yes, very disheveled, like someone caught in an affair, chased all the way. I let him hold me, saying nothing, doing nothing, not even delving into the meaning of this embrace. "Give me one night to adjust. We'll have a proper talk tomorrow." Cheng Yuanqi lowered his head to look at me, fatigue evident in his eyes. "Okay? Was there anything worth delaying for another night? Was there any outcome worth waiting for? Enduring every second?" I shook my head, withdrew from his embrace, reached out to open the door. Cheng Yuanqi stopped me again. "If someone has to leave, it should be me." His tone held an undeniable firmness. "Call me immediately if anything happens." Call him? I didn't dare. Who knew if Xiao Kung would answer again? Cheng Yuanqi left only after making me a bowl of shredded pork and mushroom noodles. Sitting alone at the long rectangular dining table, looking at the steaming noodles, my mind was a chaotic mess. I couldn't figure anything out, couldn't sort anything clearly. Tears kept falling, dissolving into the clear broth. After finishing the noodles, I dragged my weary body back to the bedroom to sleep. Perhaps the night's turmoil had drained too much energy. I slept very deeply, not waking until 4 p.m. the next day. The curtains were still not drawn. The room was dim. Opening my swollen eyes, I surveyed my surroundings. A sudden panic arose, as if I'd been abandoned by the whole world. Then I forced myself to get up and check the bathroom. Like gambling, I took off my pants. Fortunately, there was no bleeding. Even though I dared say I didn't want this child, I was almost 3 months along. I still couldn't bear the thought of anything happening to it. Entering the living room, I found the house had been cleaned. The bowl from last night that I hadn't washed was also cleaned. There were also 2 thermal containers on the coffee table. Opening them, one contained a balanced meal with meat and vegetables, the other my favorite pork rib and lotus root soup. A sticky note was beside them. The handwriting was strong and elegant, flowing freely. "Eat well. Be a bit happier." An uncle's method of coaxing a girl was truly simple and unadorned. I felt a pang of emotion, suddenly remembering the big gold chains and bags Li Yufen had mentioned. My body immediately perked up, my back didn't ache. My legs didn't feel weak. And I wasn't even hungry anymore. Running up and down, rummaging through cabinets and drawers for a long time, I found nothing. Could he have given them to Xiao Kung? Thinking this, all the boiling blood in me cooled. Channeling my sorrow into appetite, I ate every last bit in the thermal containers. If I couldn't get rich, at least I could eat my fill. Feeling a bit too full, I lay on the sofa scrolling through my phone aimlessly. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. I thought it might be Cheng Yuanqi, and even agonized for a while, But it turned out to be Li Yufan. He stood at the door, filled with guilt, carrying large and small bags of supplements. Lord He, I was wrong. I crossed my arms, smiling without a word. He hunched his shoulders. Lord He, alcohol makes you do stupid things. I'll never drink again in my life, okay? Hit me, even hit my face. Li Yufan, it's fine. With our relationship, why would I hit you? I smiled warmly, enunciating each word. We just need to sever ties. No, Lord He. He spoke while trying to slip inside. Just give me a chance to make it up to you. I have a real talent for unclogging drains. I hardened my expression. Get out. Li Yufan's steps faltered. Head lowered. He silently retreated. Hezi, I'm really sorry. Are you okay? Didn't the doctor say you could get out of bed after 3 months? A few days short shouldn't matter, right? His tone was anxious. It was clear he had been genuinely worried for a long time. I was just about to speak when the door of the neighbor's apartment across the hall suddenly opened. Cheng Yuanqi walked out wearing an apron, hands in his pockets, expression grim, tone unfriendly. Shouldn't matter? Li Yufan glared fiercely at Cheng Yuanqi. What right do you have to blame me? Where were you last night? Why weren't you home in the middle of the night? Oh, staying out all night now, huh? Cheng Yuanqi frowned but said nothing. It's fine. Once Hezi gives birth to your brother's child, you two will have nothing to do with each other anyway. I don't care if you cheated or not, Li Yufan sneered. Your brother's child, divorce, cheating, these words were all sharp. Irritated, I ran my hand through my hair. With a bang, I closed the door, shutting both of them out. After taking 2 steps, curiosity got the better of me. Tiptoeing back to the door, I tried to listen to what they were saying. I didn't cheat, and I won't cheat, Cheng Yuanqi said calmly and slowly. Li Yufan was agitated but also deliberately lowered his voice. Easy to say. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? You just want to keep both the child and the child's mother within your Cheng family. It wouldn't stop you from messing around with others anyway. My breath caught. I waited nervously for Cheng Yuanqi's response. Let's go to my place, Cheng Yuanqi said. Was he trying to prevent me from eavesdropping? I wasn't curious. I wasn't curious at all. I wouldn't be the first to ask. Why should I? You did something wrong, yet I have to chase after you for an explanation. While mentally calming myself, I moved away from the door handle, afraid I might rush out and annihilate those 2 jerks. I was a full-time online novelist. Before, to make time to marry Cheng Yuanqi, I had worked day and night to stockpile manuscripts, which were now almost used up. Since love wasn't going well, I might as well put more effort into my career. I opened my laptop, settled my mind, and started writing. When tired, I walked around the house a bit. Cheng Yuanqi brought me food every day, occasionally cleaned, and found ways to make his presence known, lingering in front of me a bit. But sorry, sister just wants to make money now. He also seemed very busy, as if he never had time to rest. Once, he even fell asleep sitting in a chair. After writing continuously for 5 days, I was ready to relax and watch a drama, but an unexpected visitor arrived. Zhio Kung stood at the door in her stilettos, smiling disdainfully. Dare to go somewhere with me? Leaning against the door, touching my slightly rounded stomach, I said, Of course I don't dare. She was slightly taken aback, then let out a scornful laugh. So cowardly? I just want to find a quiet place to talk to you about Cheng Yuanqi's secret. Secret? Seeing my interest, she pressed her advantage. Coming or not? Coming, I replied. The neighbor's door opened again. This time, it was Li Yufan who came out. He had dark circles under his eyes, disheveled hair, and looked utterly dejected. I'll come with you, he said nonchalantly, his voice filled with weariness. Why was he living here? Forget it. Let's deal with the outsider first. Zhio Kung took Li Yufan and me to a secluded lakeside. The autumn breeze was refreshing, blowing away the restlessness in my heart. Unconsciously, I stretched my stiff neck. Hey, we girls are talking. You stay far away. Go wait with the driver. Zhio Kung yelled at Li Yufan. Li Yufan pretended not to hear. Wanting to get this over with quickly, I said, Go on. It's not far. You'll see if anything happens. After Li Yufan left, Xiao Kang looked at me with a smile. Cheng Yuanqi offended my dad for your sake. Now his company is in trouble. And my dad isn't keen on helping. What do you think I should do? Caught in the middle. If I were you, I'd eat and drink as usual, not be deluded into thinking I'm some important figure. I sincerely advised her regarding her dilemma. If you divorce, I guarantee Cheng Yuanqi's company will pull through. Xiao King's eyes held a look of certain victory. You should leave that choice for Cheng Yuanqi to make, not me. I still spoke sincerely. Xiao Kang stopped smiling, her gaze suddenly turning sharp. Whose child is in your belly? The question shifted too quickly. For a moment I panicked but quickly calmed down. What do you think? Xiao Kang curled her lips, enunciating each word. Cheng Yuanru's, right? I clenched my palms, waiting for her to continue without showing any emotion. Cheng Yuanqi hates close contact with anyone. How could he possibly have a child with you? I checked you were close to Cheng Yuanru before. This child must be his. Her smile grew more triumphant. Yuanqi married you for this child, right? She stepped closer. Admit it. What are you waiting for? I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay calm. Ha! Admit what? Go ask Cheng Yuanqi. Her gaze suddenly turned cold. The earlier pride and triumph vanished completely. I immediately understood. She had already asked Cheng Yuanqi, but the answer didn't please her. What did you just say? He hates close contact with anyone. Let me tell you, I smiled. He holds me to sleep every night. He can't sleep without holding me. Xiao King's incredulous expression amused me. Laughing and laughing, I suddenly realized Xiao Kang might be telling the truth. Cheng Yuanqi had always been resistant to my closeness. Could it be that he really hated being touched by others? If so, then he wasn't disgusted by me. He had been overcoming his own psychological barriers for me. Yes, Cheng Yuanqi doesn't want to divorce you now. Her smile turned somewhat distorted. But if the child in your belly is gone, that might change. She looked down, smoothing her dress, then looked at me with composure. There are no surveillance cameras here. She's insane. Are you threatening me? I asked coldly. Xiao Kang raised her chin, clear hatred surfacing in her eyes. So what? So what? It's just that I happen to have a black belt in Taekwondo. Your petite frame probably can't withstand my throws. Zhao Qing noticed the disdain in my eyes and lunged at me like a madwoman. I dodged to the side and raised my hand, slapping her across the face. The crisp sound of the slap caught the attention of the driver not far away. He rushed over to help, but Li Yufan cleverly held him back. Furious and humiliated, Zhao Qing tried to attack again. I flexed my wrist, grabbed her arm, and threw her over my shoulder in a swift judo throw. Zhao Qing, compared to you, I might be crude, but it feels great. Have you ever hit someone you despise? Oh, sorry, I mistook you for a human again. I touched my stomach. This is my child. No one will hurt him. For the first time, I felt grateful to my dad for sending me to Taekwondo classes, rain or shine, since I was a child. It gave me the ability to protect myself. After my moment of triumph, I let out a sigh of relief and looked over at Li Yufan. Good heavens, he was being pummeled to the ground by the driver uncle. I picked up a rock and was about to rush to his aid when a car suddenly sped over and screeched to a halt behind Li Yufan. Cheng Yuanqi got out of the car, grabbed the driver by the shoulders, and flung him to the ground in one smooth motion. It was kind of cool. I quickly dropped the rock and ran over to help Li Yufan up. Seeing the injuries on his face, I gasped, "Why didn't I hear you cry out?" Ever since we were kids, whenever he got beaten up, he'd wail and howl, asking me to avenge him. Why was he so tough today, not letting out a single scream? Leaning against the car door, Li Yufan gasped for breath. After a moment, he smiled weakly. I didn't want to ruin your momentum or hold you back. Touched? Want to consider forgiving me? I rolled my eyes. You're just a masochist. You got into a fight? Cheng Yuanqi quickly pulled me over, checking me from head to toe, his eyes turning cold. Just then, Zhao Qing stumbled over from the lakeside, tears streaming down her face. Her black dress was stained with dust, and her carefully styled hair was disheveled. Yuanqi. Her sobbing tone was perfectly practiced. I straightened up, took out my phone from my pocket, and looked at her with a sarcastic smile. Sorry, but I recorded everything. If you're in the mood for drama, feel free to perform. Damn, my foresight was almost embarrassing. I knew she'd put on an act. So I'd been recording everything from the moment we set out. Zhao Qing turned red with shame and anger, biting her lip but not daring to speak. I scrolled to the key part of the recording and handed the phone to Chen Yuanqin. It was self-defense. I'm not afraid of calling the police. You can't blame me for this, right? After listening to the recording, Chen Yuanqin's eyes filled with even more fear. He wrapped an arm around my shoulders and said, "You did the right thing." Huh? I wish I'd arrived sooner. I'm sorry. His apology stirred mixed emotions in me, and I couldn't help but tear up. Li Yufeng noticed me discreetly wiping my tears, and a flicker of pain flashed in his eyes. He snapped at Chen Yuanqin. What's the point of telling me everything? Hurry up and explain it to her. Do you expect me to put in a good word for you? Isn't that asking too much? My heart skipped a beat. There were so many questions I wanted to ask, but I didn't dare speak recklessly. I can overlook the last time you and your father tricked me into going to the suburban villa, Chen Yuanqin said coldly, glaring at Zhao Qing. I can also forget about the contract. But today's matter must be settled. You crossed a line. Was his line me or the baby? Was he tricked into going to the suburbs last time? Which was why he returned so late. Chen Yuanqin opened the car door, helped me into the back seat, then assisted Liu Fan into the passenger seat before driving away. Wait, were the seats arranged wrong? Chen Yuanqin noticed my confusion in the rearview mirror and explained, Your seat is the safest. Oh, really? After taking Li Yufeng to the hospital for treatment and a checkup, we returned home. I couldn't hold back my questions any longer. Chen Yuanqin, what exactly have you been hiding from me? I pointed at Li Yufeng. Why does he know everything while I know nothing? Li Yufeng slowly lay down on the sofa, looking at Chen Yuanqin with a pained expression. Yeah, why? After a moment of silence, Chen Yuanqin spoke. Xiao He, on the day of Aru's birthday, the one who took you home. He seemed hesitant, unsure how to continue. Li Yufan clicked his tongue. Forget it. Old men care about their pride. I'll leave first so he doesn't feel too pressured. With that, he struggled to his feet and limped out the door. Watching his retreating figure, he looked like a wounded warrior with unyielding determination. With just Chen Yuanqin and me left in the room, I shrugged. Our relationship is already like this. Can it get any worse? Just say it. At this point, I'd given up on maintaining my image. I sat in a casual pose, speaking like a seasoned lover negotiating a breakup settlement with her sugar daddy. On the day of Aru's birthday party. The one who took you home. His ears turned red, and his breathing grew slightly uneven. It was me. My brain short-circuited for a moment before I understood what he meant. That day, I planned to drink a little to bolster my courage before confessing to Chen Yuanqin. But I ended up drinking too much. Knowing I was a messy drunk, I pulled Chen Yuanru aside and begged him to take me home before I completely lost it. As it turned out, alcohol really could give a coward courage. That night, I was unusually fierce, stubborn, and greedy. You mean, you and I? My breathing grew ragged, my voice hoarse and almost inaudible. That night, the person I pounced on was you? Chen Yuanqin's ears were so red, they looked like they were about to drip blood. He smiled self-deprecatingly. Yes, you slept with the wrong person. No, I didn't. I was so excited I didn't know how to react, pacing around in circles. A few days ago, when I was stranded in the suburbs without a car, I ran all the way back to the city. It was pretty pathetic. At my age, it's embarrassing to admit. But honestly, the most humiliating moment was that night with you. Thankfully, you don't remember much. No. I made him cry. After a long pause, I found my voice again. That night, why didn't you resist? Even though I'm strong, there's no way a man over 6 feet tall couldn't have fought back. I almost couldn't help but smirk. I liked you. I thought you liked me too. He reached out and ruffled my hair. His smile tinged with bitterness. But in the end, you called out Chen Yuanru's name. So he'd noticed my affection all these years. But why? When all I could think about was him. Did I call out Cheng Yuanru's name at the critical moment? Alcohol really ruins everything. All that effort I put into maintaining my image in front of him. Turns out he saw through me long ago. Cheng Yuanchen turned away, his silhouette looking lonely in the fading sunlight. Zhao He, let's try again. I don't want to let go. I twisted the hem of my shirt, my heart a jumble of emotions, surprise, but also panic. It felt too unreal. The crush I'd adored for so many years, suddenly telling me he'd already given himself to me. It felt like a dream. Cheng Yuanchen turned back, gripping my shoulders, his face pale and his gaze intense. Will you look down on me? I thought he meant our age difference after all. My youth was my only advantage. So I put on a deeply affectionate expression and said, it's not that you read 10 years older than me. It's that I arrived 10 years too late. Thank you for waiting for me all this time. That was a line I'd used for the male lead in my novel yesterday. Cheng Yuanchen coughed into his fist and said seriously, I'm still seeing a therapist. I haven't fully recovered yet. I was confused, but before I could ask, he'd already strode toward the door. I sent an email to your inbox. Read it yourself. Sitting quietly in the room, I finished reading the email, my fingertips cold and trembling slightly. When Cheng Yuanchen was 5 years old, he'd been assaulted by an adult. At the time, he sought help from his elders, but no one believed him. Gradually, he began to feel disgusted and uneasy about all physical contact. That was why he'd never had a girlfriend or any rumors all these years. On the night we were together, he genuinely wanted to escape, but his deep-seated desires and my brute force held him back. Even now, he was still afraid of intimate contact and couldn't face that traumatic past. When he asked if I'd looked down on him, what he really meant was that he'd always looked down on himself. Exposing his wounds to me must have been excruciatingly painful for him. I picked up my phone to call him and tell him my answer, but no one answered. Just as I was about to go next door to see if he was there, Li Yufan called. Have you two sorted things out? He asked bluntly. Almost. Do you know where Cheng Yuanchen is? I said. Why ask me? He's not my man. He replied irritably. But your guy is something else. I saw him as a rival, but he saw me as his wingman. He told me all his relationship troubles and asked for my advice. Does he not take me seriously? The old man had never been in a relationship, he was just seeking guidance. Too bad he asked the wrong person. Yeah, I'll scold him next time, I said with a laugh. All right, serious talk. I'm at the airport. Want me to sing you a love called Letting Go? Give me some applause. He burst into laughter. You're really at the airport? I asked. Yep. Meeting someone again? So that's what you think of me, always unreliable. He chuckled. Zhao He, I met you first. But I realized it too late. I won't disturb you two anymore, but if you need me, just call and I'll come back. I held the phone, unsure what to say. Even if you don't need me, don't forget about me. The next moment, he hung up without saying goodbye or offering any blessings. It was a shame that our friendship had to end like this. My phone rang again. It was Cheng Yuanchen. I'm cooking next door. Come over and eat. Okay. Cheng Yuanchen had prepared a candlelit dinner. But instead of steak, it was the braised green beans with noodles I'd been craving, my mom's signature dish. How did you learn to make this? One bite, and it tasted exactly like my mom's. I went to learn from Mum. Cheng Yuanchen picked up a napkin, leaned over, and wiped the corner of my mouth. The candlelight cast a soft glow on his profile, making him look gentle and beautiful. Mum accepted you? I asked in surprise. Yes, thanks to Li Yufan. He told me to bring over the bags and jewelry I'd bought before, one at a time, for over a week. Then Mom would accept me. It worked perfectly. Cheng Yuanchen smiled. Next time, let's go home together. My heart ached. Li Yufan, you taught him well. One more thing, I gave the recording to my lawyer. This matter needs to be addressed. From now on, I won't work with their family anymore, and I won't have any contact with Zhao Qing. Cheng Yuanchen spoke calmly, without any emotion in his voice. But it was precisely this matter-of-fact tone that made me believe he'd keep his word. I worried. Didn't Zhao Qing say your company was in trouble? Isn't this a bit impulsive? Not impulsive. You're more important than profits. His nonchalant attitude reassured me. Besides, I could help him earn money, but we couldn't leave landmines in our relationship. Cheng Yuanchen, I have to clarify something about that night. From beginning to end, the person I wanted to be with was you. There was no sleeping with the wrong person. As for why I called out the wrong name, I think I was just too nervous, afraid I'd gotten the wrong person, yet unable to believe I'd actually gotten you. I explained seriously. Cheng Yuanchen looked surprised at first, then embarrassed, and finally chuckled. Next time I'm not around, you're not allowed to drink. Makes sense. I'll remember that, I nodded emphatically. That night, Cheng Yuanchen's body was still tense, but I patiently distracted him to ease his nerves. As for whether I looked down on him, I wanted to show him with my actions. Words couldn't fully express how much my heart ached for him. After laying everything out in the open, our relationship progressed rapidly. We even visited Cheng Yuanru's grave together. When I thought the baby was Cheng Yuanru's, I'd avoided mentioning him. A few days ago, I found out that on the night of the birthday party, he deliberately asked Cheng Yuanchen to take me home. The fact that his brother and I were together today was all thanks to him. Thank you, little brother-in-law, I said sincerely at his graveside, gently touching my stomach. On the way back, I insisted on sitting in the passenger seat despite Cheng Yuanchen's objections. Unexpectedly, at a crossroads, a white BMW failed to brake in time and collided with the front of our car. In that terrifying moment, I instinctively protected my stomach, while Cheng Yuanchen instinctively shielded me with his body. Fortunately, neither of us was hurt. After dealing with the insurance, we returned home in silence. As soon as the door closed, I stood on my tiptoes and pressed my lips to his. He didn't respond. Just as I was about to pull away in disappointment, he suddenly raised his hand, cut the back of my head, and deepened the kiss. After a long, tender kiss, he held me close, burying his face in my neck. If I die, forget about me and live your life well. Cheng Yuanchen, are you crazy? I wrapped my arms tightly around his waist, my heart still racing with fear. He chuckled softly but said nothing. I thought both of us were just shaken by the accident, and would feel better after a good night's sleep. But the old man seemed more terrified than I'd realized. Waking up in the middle of the night, I found him sitting at his computer, writing his will, so absorbed that he didn't even notice me standing behind him. Cheng Yuanchen, you're being a bit dramatic, I spoke suddenly, and Cheng Yuanchen jumped in surprise. After a moment, he closed the laptop and pulled me onto his lap. I want to think ahead for you. I wrapped my arms around his neck, my eyes growing warm. It feels like I've found myself a dad. Cheng Yuanchen, a man who always put me first. If you love me, I'll love you twice as much. I love you, I said softly. Mem, I love you more, he replied. So he felt the same way, wanting to love the other person more. Cheng Yuanchen, when you're old and can't move, I'll push your wheelchair, I said. Let's buy an electric one. We can sit on it together, he replied. The end.